today on Ag News Daily.
When we saw the proposal, it was clear that the administration wanted to give us even more gallons than we were asking for. So it is a very welcome proposal, a very welcome change in the program overall.
Well, welcome back to a weekly edition of the Ag News Daily Show. This is Tanner and Delaney sitting in studio together this week.
Yeah, feels a little weird. Did you have a good vacation?
I did. It always feels like you need a vacation from the vacation, but if I did that, it probably overlapped with back to school day.
Yeah, you got your kids sending them back, so that'll be like a vacation for you.
It can be, right? It just feels like everything kicks off. We've got looking forward to the Iowa State-Kansas State game over in Ireland. We've got Farm Progress Show coming up. It's just a whirlwind right now.
Wrapping up the Iowa State Fair this weekend. Got a lot going on.
That's right. We had good weather for the fair. We got a front that worked through earlier this week, brought some flooding into northern Missouri and southern Wisconsin. Some of the eastern areas stayed mostly dry after several weeks of limited rain. Also, here in the Midwest, temperatures have been climbing. They will stay warm into this weekend. Another front will move into the northwestern area today, which is expected to stall out through the weekend. That will then be before it pushes east next week. That could bring more flooding to parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, while other areas will see moderate rainfall to help the corn and soybeans. There are still some spots out east that may miss out on rain again. Here in the central and southern plains, scattered showers have developed in some areas this week, but many locations stayed dry. Temperatures have been on the rise and will peak ahead of a front that moves into the northern areas this weekend. Cooler weather and some showers are likely next week. The northern plains saw a front that moved through the middle of last week, bringing scattered showers through into this weekend. While some rain there has helped corn and soybeans, it continues to impact wheat quality and will slow harvest in those areas. So not a lot of change across the regions, mostly traditional weather patterns for this time of year.
Well, the USDA's crop progress condition rating slipped slightly last week after another stretch of mixed weather in those growing regions, as you just mentioned there, Tanner. Corn was rated 72% good to excellent, down 1 percentage point from the previous week. 94% of the crop silked, and 58% now in the dough stage, 14% now dented. These averages are all near average for this time of year. Soybeans were rated 68% good to excellent, also down 1 percentage point. 91% blooming and 71% have set pods. Winter wheat harvest was nearly complete at 90%, just shy of the 5-year average of 91%. Spring wheat ratings improved slightly to 49% good to excellent, with 16% harvested, behind the usual pace of 22%. And next week we kick off the Pro Farmer Crop Tour, so we will see how field conditions look from their perspective.
If you didn't mention it, I was going to. It'll be quite interesting to see what they come across. The United States and China have extended their tariff truce for another 90 days, delaying the steep new duties that were set to take effect this week. President Trump announced Monday that he signed an order pushing back the higher U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods until November 10th. China's Commerce Ministry issued a similar 90-day pause on its planned tariff hikes on adding more U.S. companies to trade restriction lists. The extension helps U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods at 30%. And Chinese tariffs on U.S. goods at 10%. Without it, rates would have risen to 145% and 125% respectively. This pause comes as U.S. retailers will prepare for holiday season, preventing some higher costs on imports like electronics, clothing, and toys. Treasury Secretary Scott says that extra time will be to allow both sides to continue their negotiations on trade imbalances, market access, and national security concerns. So more to come there, but a little bit of a kick out there, delay.
Well, as no surprise, due to some of these ongoing geopolitical and trade concerns, global food commodity prices climbed in July to their highest level in more than 2 years, according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO. They say rising vegetable oil prices and record high meat costs outweighed declines for cereals, dairy, and sugar. The FAO Food Price Index averaged 130 points in July, up 1.6% from June. This was the highest reading since February of 2023. However, it remains 19% below the record it set in March of 2022 following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Meat prices reached an all-time high worldwide, led by beef and sheep meat, as strong demand from China and the U.S. pushed the index to 127 points. U.S. beef imports have increased after drought reduced the domestic cattle herd. Poultry prices also rose after Brazil regained its avian influenza-free status, while pork prices fell on weaker demand in the European Union. Additionally, vegetable oil prices surged more than 7% to a three-year high, driven by palm, soy, and sunflower oils, while rapeseed oil prices dropped with new harvest supplies in Europe. So consumers around the world are feeling higher grocery store basket prices.
Yeah, it seems to be what we feel here at home as well. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin made an announcement on new guidance Tuesday to prevent sudden shutdowns and power losses in diesel engines caused by diesel exhaust fluid or DEF systems. Speaking at the Iowa State Fair, the Administrator Zeldin called the old rules unacceptable, saying that they are costing farmers, truckers, and small businesses millions in lost productivity. DEF reduces nitrogen oxide emissions, but previous regulations caused equipment to slow or stop if the fluid ran out. Starting in 2027, trucks with new designs must prevent sudden and severe power losses. The EPA is also providing guidance for software updates on existing vehicles. Boy, if they can get that accomplished, there's going to be a lot of fans of Mr. Zeldin. The American Farm Bureau president, Zippy Duvall, praised these changes, saying that, quoted, "When a vehicle runs out of DEF or there is an error in the software, it loses power, causing delays that could be the difference between getting a crop harvested or animals to their destination." He also highlighted the importance of the grace period for repairs or refills. The plan does not remove DEF systems entirely, but extends the time between a system failure and when machinery power is reduced. So, good news there, I would say.
Well, the Iowa State Fair has been housing a lot of top-level officials because we also had Secretary Rollins come to the Iowa State Fair as well. She was in the Governor's Charity Steer Show, which is a big fundraiser for the Ronald McDonald House. But while she was here at the Iowa State Fair on Saturday of this past week, she also took the opportunity to announce $152 million in USDA investments for rural development projects across Iowa. She said the funding will support 19 projects, including a $37 million loan to expand Guthrie County Hospital, a $44 million package for Emmitsburg wastewater treatment facilities, and a $28 million loan for new wells and treatment plants in Plymouth and Sioux counties. She said, quote, "This unprecedented coordinated rural development project will help boost the rural economies, develop rural infrastructure, and encourage private investments." Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds praised the investment, saying, quote, "During the time of uncertainty in the ag economy, I'm so grateful we have a partner we can rely on." The secretary noted that this funding is part of a broader effort to put farmers first again, including trade agreements, farm safety net programs, and agriculture provisions in the budget reconciliation bill. So probably just continued one of many states where she will continue to make these type of announcements, Tanner.
It certainly seems like she and her department are always
out on the move.
That's right. Well, the USDA and the FDA are proposing changes to support American citrus growers and reduce reliance on imported orange juice. The agencies plan to update the standard of identity for pasteurized orange juice, ending a 60-year-old rule that has limited U.S. production. Secretary Rollins called it a big win for growers, noting that Florida's orange industry has struggled with hurricanes, citrus greening disease, and outdated regulations that no longer reflect modern farming. This proposal would lower the minimum sugar content, or BRICS level, for pasteurized orange juice from 10.5 to only 10%. That means more American oranges would meet the standard while boosting domestic production and strengthening the U.S. supply chain. Boy, it doesn't seem like from 10.5%.
You wouldn't think that's a lot.
But certainly a big deal for orange growers there. We also got news out of the National FFA organization. They are reporting a milestone of more than 1 million members nationwide. This year, membership climbed to 1,042,245 across over 9,400 chapters. That's big news. National FFA CEO Scott Stump said that the growth reflects the continued interest in agricultural education. He said, in quote, "There are many opportunities in agriculture, from community leadership to careers in more than 350 different fields." The FFA also reported over 800,000 alumni members from over 2,000 alumni chapters. States with the largest membership are Texas with over 181,000, California with over 108, and Michigan that led the nation with a 15% increase, while Florida also saw an 8% rise in their membership. So big news there for youth in agriculture.
Were you an FFA member, Tanner?
I was not. I was 4-H'er.
Oh, I was a big FFA member, so love to see those numbers climb. John Deere will gain access to confidential business information from several competitors as part of the ongoing antitrust and right to repair lawsuits. The lawsuit, which began after a 2022 investigation prompted by the National Farmers Union, alleges Deere monopolized repair services using onboard computers in its tractors and combines. The FTC is seeking to give farmers and independent repair shops access to Deere's repair tools and a permanent injunction against the company. A federal court in northern Illinois ruled last week that Deere can review documents collected by the FTC in its investigation of allegations the company monopolized these farm equipment repair markets. Deere has been accused of restricting farmers from making certain repairs to their own tractors and other equipment. The documents could include sensitive pricing data, financial reports, and sales information from CNH, Industrial Kubota, and AGCO. Once Deere has access, 16 farmer plaintiffs in a separate lawsuit will also be able to review these documents under the court's order as well. The court said allowing only the FTC access would put Deere at a fundamental disadvantage and ruled existing confidentiality agreements will protect the company's information, including limiting access, requiring secure handling of these documents, and mandating destruction after the case concludes. Deere has pledged to defend itself vigorously, calling the lawsuits unfounded, but promising to comply with court orders. So just the latest development here in this continued case for John Deere. But as we transition into this week's interview, Tanner and I chatted with Paul Winters of the Clean Fuel Alliance America. So let's get into that conversation now. All right. Well, we are so excited today to be catching up with Paul Winters, the Director of Public Affairs with Clean Fuels Alliance America, to catch up about all things clean fuels, RFS. Lots to talk about on the docket today. Paul, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Delaney.
So before we get into maybe some of the pressing issues that our listeners are likely going to be thinking about as we dig in today, Paul, give us a little bit of the 10,000-foot overview of what the organization does.
Clean Fuels Alliance America represents the entire value chain for producing biodiesel, renewable diesel, and sustainable aviation fuel here in the United States. We have our headquarters in Jefferson City. We provide services to the industry like technical studies, environmental studies, and we also have a DC office that does advocacy for the entire industry. We represent the entire value chain from crop producers and collectors of used cooking oil, renderers who provide animal fats to the industry, all the way through production and even to consumers. So our membership is growing with a lot of new customers for the fuels. People like Pepsi & Co., which fuels their fleets across the country with a lot of different types of alternative energy, to all 6 major railroads who are looking at adopting biodiesel and renewable diesel to meet their own sustainability goals. So it's the entire value chain across the United States.
Yeah, you certainly have a big task at hand as far as the organization goes, and that is probably appreciated by growers across the U.S. everywhere in regards to those benefits that you provide for them. As we look at some of the latest headlines, what's one of the first ones that we should discuss and provide an update on?
Well, we could start with the Renewable Fuel Standard. This proposal came out in June, and the opportunity to comment to the Environmental Protection Agency on the elements of the proposal closed last Friday. So we had a very short window, and there are a lot of details in the proposal. Overall, though, this is the first time in the history of the Renewable Fuel Standard that EPA has actually taken a good long look at the size of the biomass-based diesel industry, the availability of crops here in the United States to grow the industry, and basically put forward a proposal to allow the industry to grow. They are looking at our industry as the one source of growth in the biofuel industry over the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, and maybe just to add a data point here, this is the 20th year of the Renewable Fuels Standard. So it's an exciting milestone to see not only have we had this as a tool for 20 years, but we're also seeing it as an opportunity for growth here for the next foreseeable future. Paul, what has the sentiment been from this administration? Because as you think about every 4 years, we get a new administration in, the pendulum might swing back and forth. It sounds like from what you're sharing, the administration has been very open to discussions with you and other groups about how do we make the next, hopefully 20 years, set up for the long run.
Yeah, the administration has made very, very clear that they view the RFS program as a opportunity for American farmers to prosper and to continue growing a brand new market for their products. Before the proposal came out, clean fuels and other parts of our industry unified. We even had the American Petroleum Institute take a united position with us in saying that the biodiesel and renewable diesel industry needed more than 5 billion gallons of market space in 2026 under the Renewable Fuel Standard. And when we saw the proposal, it was clear that the administration wanted to give us even more gallons than we were asking for. So it is a very welcome proposal, a very welcome change in the program overall. We're just trying to look over all those details and make sure that when it gets finalized in November, that those gallons are preserved and that the market space for farmers really, really pays off.
So since that comment window closed last week, can you kind of summarize the feedback that was provided?
Well, certainly. So, and the overall sentiment from our sector, even from the American Petroleum Institute, is that they appreciate the proposal and they appreciate the administration's intent to grow the biodiesel and renewable diesel sector. There's other details in the proposal. There's a proposal that's intended to boost the value of U.S. crops and U.S. feedstocks in the industry, and to disincentivize imported fuels. So we're trying to work out that detail. I think everyone agrees that U.S. produced fuel and U.S. crops should have more incentive under this program. That the intent here is to build markets for American farmers and to add value to their crops, to their work, to sort of overcome some of the market challenges that farmers face in in affording, fuel and chemicals that are inputs into agriculture, and to boost the agricultural economy here in the United States. We want to make sure that all of those, all of the proposals meet that goal when they get finalized.
And finalization, as you mentioned, is anticipated to happen in November. But as we know, Congress doesn't always happen unanimously and quickly. So walk us through, Paul, what are the steps to get this codified and see the RFS standards that you and others are suggesting to actually get that put into place?
Sure. So starting last week, EPA has to sort through what appears to be more than 2,000 individual comments. And they are, under the law, they're supposed to finalize this proposal by November 1st this year. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin has firmly committed to getting the program back on schedule after years and years of delays. In fact, the proposal for 2026 should have been finalized last November. So he's going to get us back on schedule for 2027, and so they have to sort through those several thousand comments, respond to the comments in a way that sort of justifies the policy choices they make, and then put out a final rule in November. And then these rules, these volumes, are in place for 2026. So there's a 2-month window for our industry to sort of gear up to meet the proposed volumes, and to get production rolling for that year.
And Paul, have there been any discussions around small refinery exemption waivers? That has been a sticking point in the past based on what the potential RFS standards for 2026 could be. You have 2 months to figure out a plan. What's the sentiment around those waivers?
Yeah, the waivers are an issue that have been hanging out here in DC for multiple years. It's been a fight between the petroleum industry and the biofuel industry for the past decade or so. And there's still no solid agreement on what to do with the exemptions there for 2026 and 2027. The administration is proposing to adhere to an agreement that came into place back in 2020, where they would estimate how many exemptions they are going to grant for 2026 and 2027, and they're going to include that as a factor in calculating the obligations for those years, and that ensures that the biofuel industry does not lose gallons at the end of the day. But we have almost 200 petitions that are going back to 2018. There are a couple of them that go as far back as 2016. They were granted, they were denied. People took the issue to court, and the courts basically told EPA that they need to devise a system for granting or denying these based on a solid evaluation of each individual case, rather than just handing them out willy-nilly or denying everything all at once. So EPA has to make individual decisions on these almost 200 pending petitions, and how they go about that could impact the volumes, not just for 2026 and 2027, but possibly for 2025 as well.
Is that
obviously the biofuel industry doesn't want the gallons we have to be eroded. We don't want the administration's promise of of growth and additional market space in 2026 to be undermined by small refinery exemptions. But of course, the refiners, don't want an economic impact from being denied these exemptions.
So is that something the Alliance can provide feedback to the EPA on how those are considered, or is that not something you can partake in helping with?
Well, Clean Fuels, along with other biofuel organizations, along with refiner organizations, have been part of the lawsuits over the past almost 10 years now. We're still waiting for EPA to provide a solid proposal that people can react to. EPA has been doing some outreach to the groups, to the stakeholders in this program, and asking, how can we address these pending small refinery exemptions? There's no consensus. There's no real agreement. But everyone is concerned about how the economic impacts turn out for their industry. So there really is no agreement, and it's not going to be an easy decision for EPA to make.
Paul, switching tracks here, I'd be remiss if I didn't get your take here on the big, beautiful bill. It protects 45Z for a few more years, but we still don't have clarity over what that looks like under this administration. Again, it sounds like you're having open communications with the administration. What's your take on the path forward here?
Yeah, the 45Z credit, it's been a little unfortunate. It was, it was first adopted in a reconciliation bill by the Democratic-controlled Congress back in 2022. And the Treasury was essentially given 4 months to roll out the rules from all these changes to the tax code from that bill in 2022. Unfortunately, the prior administration just did not address 45Z. They kind of put out a incomplete and informal guidance in January, right before they left. That caused a great deal of confusion for our industry. Our industry tries to purchase feedstocks and negotiate fuel sale contracts at least 3 to 4 months in advance. So right now, our industry is actually trying to negotiate contracts for the start of 2026, and we still don't have formal rules in place. And now the reconciliation bill from the current Congress, the big beautiful bill, makes a lot of changes to 45Z, a lot of changes that our industry supports and wants to see enacted. But we still need formal rules from Treasury. So we are encouraging Treasury to issue these rules, to make them a priority. We're asking members of Congress who support our industry to weigh in with Treasury and get them to spur them on to action. Senator Chuck Grassley has been a tremendous advocate for our industry on that issue. But we're getting to the same place we were last year, where our industry is trying to prepare for January 2026, and nobody knows the rules still. So that guidance from Treasury is really an urgent issue for us.
Well, Paul, it sounds like your team's going to have no shortage of things to work on and get figured out in a very short amount of time. So we do appreciate the efforts that have been casted before us. If our listeners want to interact or get more information themselves, how best do they connect with you?
Yeah, our website is cleanfuels.org. We have resources on our website where they can learn about these issues. We even have a tool where they can send an email to their members of Congress and weigh in on these issues. So cleanfuels.org is the place to go.
That's great. We appreciate your time, appreciate the information and insight that you have, and the willingness to be able to share that with our audience.
Thank you, Tanner.
It's good to have conversations like that to share with our audiences, Delaney. But what are we seeing in the markets this week?
Well, this week, all eyes were on the WASDE report, and it was a pretty bearish WASDE report. A lot of surprises as USDA pegged this year's corn and soybean yields in some surprising changes. A 188 corn yield and a 53 corn or soybean yield. Big surprises in the changes. They cut production by 43 million bushels for soybeans, increased corn production by just over 1 billion bushels, and ending stocks, if realized, for corn would be 2.1 billion bushels. Because of the increases in yield here, they raised it almost 8 bushels for corn. Again, August WASDE, this does happen where we see yields raised, but not at this level. This would be the highest yield, if realized, that we would ever see. So a lot of traders were not expecting this to come out. Of course, we saw soybeans have a slight raise in yield as well, but not anything compared to what we saw on the corn side of things.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where this is going to take us into harvest. You mentioned the Pro Farmer crop tour early in this episode. It'll be interesting to see what they do next week. It'll also be interesting to see if this is one of those to where a big crop keeps getting bigger, or do we start to see that be diminished as we get the combines in the field?
There is a lot of speculation, Tanner, about whether that is the case. So a lot of folks are speculating that this might be the biggest we see it get, and we're going to start to see it pull back from here, but time will only tell.
It is. It was interesting. It's been a while since, the end of July now up at Ag PhD Days, and there was even conversations about grain quality. We might have the bushels, but what types of quality will get harvested this year? So it's still a while until we get deep into harvest. As we get some of those progress reports out, we'll start reporting on those. But again, thank you, listeners. Appreciate you as always. If you've got interviews or topics we should take on, make sure you reach out. But what do you say, Delaney? Should we let them go?
Let's let them go.